Jordan is a country in the southern Levant region of West Asia. Bordered by Syria to the north, Iraq to the east, Saudi Arabia to the south and Israel to the west. The Jordan River flowing into Dead Sea is located along the country's western border. Jordan has a small coastline along the Red Sea in its southwest, separated by the Gulf of Aqaba from Egypt. Amman is the capital and largest city as well as the most populous city in the Levant. Modern-day Jordan has been inhabited by humans since Paleolithic period. Three kingdoms developed in Transjordan during Iron Age: Amman, Moab and Edom. Conquered by the Assyrian and followed by Babylonian empires. In the 3rd century BC, Arab Nabateans established their kingdom centered in Petra. The Greco-Roman period saw the establishment of several cities in Transjordan that comprised the Decapolis. Islamic era began after end of Byzantine rule that set off Islamic empires of the Rashidun, Umayyad, Abbasid and Ottoman. Following 1916 Great Arab Revolt during World War I, former Ottoman Syria was partitioned, leading to the establishment of the Emirate of Transjordan in 1921, which became British Protectorate. In 1946, the country gained independence and officially known as the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The country captured and annexed West Bank during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War until it was occupied by Israel in 1967. Jordan renounced its claim to the territory to the Palestinians in 1988 and signed a peace treaty with Israel in 1994. Jordan is a semi-arid country, covering an area of 89,342 kilometers square with a population of 11.539,888 million, making it 11th most populous Arab country. The dominant majority, or 95% of the country's population, is Sunni Muslim, with the rest mostly Arab Christian. Jordan unscathed by the violence that swept the region following Arab Spring in 2010. As early as 1948, Jordan accepted refugees from multiple neighboring countries in conflict. An estimated 2.1 million Palestinian refugees, most of whom hold Jordanian citizenship, as well as 1.4 million Syrian refugees, were residing in Jordan as of 2015. The kingdom is also a refuge for thousands of Christian Iraqis fleeing persecution. While Jordan continues to accept refugees, the large Syrian influx during the 2010s has placed substantial strain on national resources and infrastructure. The sovereign state is a constitutional monarchy, but the king holds wide executive and legislative powers. Jordan is a founding member of Arab League and Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The Jordanian economy is attractive to foreign investors based upon skilled workforce. The country is not only a major tourist destination, but also medical tourism with its well-developed health sector. Nonetheless, a lack of natural resources, large flow of refugees and regional turmoil have hampered economic growth. Jordan sits strategically at the crossroads of the continents of Asia, Africa and Europe in the Levant area of the Fertile Crescent, a cradle of civilization. It is 400 kilometers long between its northernmost and southernmost points from Qais to Aqaba. The east is an arid plateau irrigated by oases and seasonal streams. Major cities are overwhelmingly located on the northwestern part of the kingdom with its fertile soils and relatively abundant rainfall. These include Irbid, Jerash and Zarqa in the northwest, the capital Amman and As-Salt in the central west, and Madaba, Al-Karak and Aqaba in the southwest. Major towns in the east are the oasis towns of Azraq and Ruwaysht. In the west, a highland area of arable land and Mediterranean evergreen forestry drops suddenly into the Jordan Rift Valley. The Rift Valley contains the Jordan River and the Dead Sea, which separates Jordan from Israel. Jordan has a 26 kilometers shoreline on the Gulf of Aqaba in the Red Sea, but is otherwise landlocked. The Yarmouk River, an eastern tributary of the Jordan, forms part of the boundary between Jordan and Syria, including Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, to the north. The other boundaries are formed by several international and local agreements and do not follow well-defined natural features. The highest point is Jabal Amal Dami at 1,854 meters above sea level, while the lowest is Dead Sea -420 meters, the lowest land point on Earth. The Dead Sea, located along Jordan's western border, is the lowest point on Earth and a natural resort that attracts visitors from across the region for thousands of years. Jordan has diverse range of habitats, ecosystems, and biota because of its varied landscapes and environments. The Royal Society for Conservation of Nature was set up in 1966 to protect and manage Jordan's natural resources. Nature reserves in Jordan include Dana Biosphere Reserve, the Azraq Wetland Reserve, the Shaumari Wildlife Reserve and the Mujib Nature Reserve. Recorded over 2,000 plant species. Many of the flowering plants bloom in the spring after winter rains, and the type of vegetation depends largely on the levels of precipitation. The mountainous regions in the northwest are clothed in forests, while vegetation more scrubby and transitions to steppe-type vegetation further south and east. Forests cover 1.5 million dunams, 1,500 kilometers square, less than 2% of Jordan, making Jordan among the world's least forested countries, the international average being 15%. Plant species and genera include Aleppo pine, Sarcopterygium, Salvia dominica, black iris, tamarix, Anabasis, Artemisia, acacia, Mediterranean cypress and Phoenician juniper. The mountainous regions in the northwest are clothed in natural forests of pine, deciduous oak, evergreen oak, pistachio and wild olive. Mammal and reptile species include long-eared hedgehog, Nubian ibex, wild boar, fallow deer, Arabian wolf, desert monitor, honey badger, glass snake, caracal, golden jackal and roe deer. Bird include hooded crow, Eurasian jay, lappet-faced vulture, Barbary falcon, hoopoe, pharaoh eagle owl, common cuckoo, Tristram starling, Palestine sunbird, Sinai rosefinch, lesser kestrel, house crow and the white-spectacled bulbul. For terrestrial ecoregions lie with Jordan's borders, Syrian xeric grasslands and shrublands. Eastern Mediterranean conifer sclerophyllous broadleaf forests. Mesopotamian shrub desert. Red Sea Nubo-Sindian tropical desert and semi-desert. Jordan is ranked 35th best infrastructure in the world, one of the highest rankings in the developing world according to 2010 World Economic Forum's Index of Economic Competitiveness. This high infrastructural development is necessitated by its role as a transit country for goods and services mainly to Palestine and Iraq. According to data from the Ministry of Public Works and Housing as of 2011, the road network consisted of 2,878 kilometers of main roads, 2,592 kilometers of rural roads and 1,733 kilometers of side roads. The Hijaz Railway built during Ottoman Empire, which extended from Damascus to Mecca, acted as a base for future railway expansion plans. Currently, the railway has little civilian activity, it is primarily used for transporting goods. Amman has a network of public transportation buses including Amman Bus and Amman Bus Rapid Transit and is connected to nearby Zaka through the Amman Zaka Bus Rapid Transit. Jordan has 3 commercial airports, all receiving and dispatching international flights. 2 are in Amman and the third is in Aqaba, King Hussein International Airport. Amman Civil Airport serves several regional routes and charter flights, while Queen Alia International Airport is the major international airport in Jordan and hub for Royal Jordanian Airlines, the flag carrier. Queen Alia International Airport expansion was completed in 2013 with new terminals costing $700 million to handle over 16 million passengers annually. It is considered a state-of-the-art airport and awarded Best Airport by Region Middle East for 2014 and 2015 by Airport Service Quality Survey, the world's leading airport passenger satisfaction benchmark program. Port of Aqaba is the only port in Jordan. In 2006, the port was ranked Best Container Terminal in the Middle East by Lloyd's List. The port was chosen because its location is between 4 countries and 3 continents. It is an exclusive gateway for the local market. The tourism sector is considered a cornerstone of the economy and is a large source of employment, hard currency and economic growth. There were 8 million visitors to Jordan. Majority of tourists are from European and Arab countries. According to the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, Jordan is home to around 100,000 archaeological and tourist sites. Well-preserved historical cities include Petra and Jerash, the former being the most popular tourist attraction and an icon of the kingdom. As part of the Holy Land, there are numerous biblical sites such as Al-Martaz, a traditional location for the baptism of Jesus, Mount Nebo, Amarozes, Madaba and Macaris. Islamic sites include shrines of the Prophet Muhammad's companions such as Abd Allah ibn Rawaha, Zayd ibn Haritha and Nuad ibn Jabal. Ajlaun Castle, built by Muslim Ayyubid leader Saladin in the 12th century during his wars with the Crusaders, is also a popular tourist attraction. The Dana Biosphere Reserve in southern Jordan lies along the Jordan Trail, a hiking path that is gaining popularity. Modern entertainment, recreation, and souks in urban areas, mostly in Amman, also attract tourists. The nightlife in Amman, Aqaba, and Irbid emerge with number of bars, discos, and nightclubs. Alcohol is widely available in tourist restaurants, liquor stores, and even some supermarkets. Valleys including Wadi Mujib and hiking trails in different parts of the country attract adventurers. Hiking gaining popularity among tourists and locals. Places such as Dana Biosphere Reserve and Petra offer numerous signposted hiking trails. The Jordan Trail, a 650 kilometers hiking trail stretching the entire country from north to south, crossing several attractions, was established in 2015. The trail aims to revive the tourism sector. Moreover, seaside recreation is present on the shores of Aqaba and the Dead Sea through several international resorts. Jordan has been a medical tourism destination in the Middle East since the 1970s. A study conducted by Jordan's Private Hospitals Association found that 250,000 patients from 102 countries received treatment in Jordan in 2010, as compared to 190,000 in 2007, bringing over $1 billion in revenue. Jordan is the region's top medical tourism destination as rated by the World Bank and fifth in the world overall. Natural treatment methods can be found in both marine hot springs and the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is described as a natural spa. It contains 10 times more salt than the average ocean, which makes it impossible to sink in. The high salinity of the Dead Sea has proven therapeutic for skin diseases. The uniqueness of this lake attracts several Jordanian and foreign vacationers, which boosted investments in the hotel sector in the area. Jordan shares both of its two main surface water resources, Jordan and Yarmouk rivers, with neighboring countries, adding complexity to water allocation decisions. Water from Dissi Aquifer and 10 major dams historically played a large role in providing fresh water. The Jawar Dam in northeastern Jordan, which dates back to the 4th millennium BC, is the world's oldest dam. Natural gas discovered in 1987. However, the estimated size of the reserve discovered was about 230 billion cubic feet, a minuscule quantity compared with its oil-rich neighbors. The Risha field in the eastern desert beside the Iraqi border produces nearly 35 million cubic feet of gas per day, which is sent to a nearby power plant to generate a small amount of Jordan's electricity needs. This led to a reliance on importing oil to generate almost all of its electricity. Jordan receives 330 days of sunshine per year and wind speeds reach over 7 meters per second in the mountainous areas, so renewables proved a promising sector. Jordan has the 5th largest oil shale reserves in the world, which could commercially exploited in the central and northwestern regions. Official figures estimate reserves at more than 70 billion tons. Atarat Power Plant, its first oil shale power plant, was commissioned 2023 with a 470 megawatts capacity. Jordan aims to benefit from its large uranium reserves by tapping nuclear energy. Currently, the Atomic Energy Commission is considering building small modular reactors whose capacities hover below 500 megawatts and can provide water sources through desalination. Phosphate mines in the south have made Jordan one of the largest producers and exporters of the mineral in the world. Petra Engineering Industries Company, which is one of the main pillars of Jordanian industry, has gained international recognition with its air conditioning units reaching NASA. Jordan is a leading pharmaceuticals manufacturer in the MENA region led by Hikma. Science and technology is the fastest developing economic sector. This growth is occurring across multiple industries, including information and communications technology and nuclear technology. Jordan contributes 75% of the Arabic content on the internet. More than 400 companies are active in telecom, information technology, and video game development. 600 companies are operating in active technologies and 300 startup companies. Jordan was ranked 73rd in the Global Innovation Index in 2024. Nuclear science and technology are also expanding. The Jordan Research and Training Reactor, which was commissioned in 2016, is a 5 MW training reactor located at the Jordan University of Science and Technology in Ramtha. The facility is the first nuclear reactor in the country and will provide Jordan with radioactive isotopes for medical usage and provide training to students to produce a skilled workforce for the country's planned commercial nuclear reactors. Jordan also hosts the synchrotron light for experimental science and applications in the Middle East facility, which is the only particle accelerator in the Middle East and one of only 60 synchrotron radiation facilities in the world. Sesame, supported by UNESCO and CERN, was opened in 2017 and allows for collaboration between scientists from various rival Middle Eastern countries. Amman is one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities and one of the most modern in the Arab world. The population of Amman was 65,754 in 1946 but exceeded 4 million by 2015. Arabs make up 98% of the population. The remaining 2% consist largely of peoples from the Caucasus including Circassians, Armenians, and Chechens, along with smaller minority groups. About 84% of the population live in urban areas. Sunni Islam is the dominant religion. Muslims make up about 95% of the population. In turn, 93% of those self-identify as Sunnis. There are also a small number of Ahmadi Muslims and Shiites. Many Shia are Iraqi and Lebanese refugees. Muslims who convert to another religion as well as missionaries from other religions face societal and legal discrimination. Jordan has some of the oldest Christian communities in the world, dating as early as the 1st century AD after the crucifixion of Jesus. Christians make up about 4% of the population, down from 20% in 1930, though their absolute number has grown. This is due to high immigration rates of Muslims into Jordan, higher emigration rates of Christians to the west, and higher birth rates for Muslims. Christians number around 250,000, all of whom are Arabic-speaking, according to 2014 estimate by Orthodox Church. Though the study excluded minority Christian groups and the thousands of Western, Iraqi and Syrian Christians residing in Jordan. Christians are well integrated in society. Smaller religious minorities include Druze, Boharis and Mandeans. Most Druze live in Azraq, some villages on Syrian border, and in Zarqa, while most Jordanian Boharis live in Adassiyah bordering the Jordan Valley. It is estimated that 1,400 Mandeans live in Amman. They came from Iraq after the 2003 invasion fleeing persecution. Many institutions aim to increase cultural awareness of Jordanian art and to represent artistic movements in fields such as paintings, sculpture, graffiti and photography. Jordan has been a haven for artists from surrounding countries. In January 2016, for the first time ever, a Jordanian film called Thebe was nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Foreign Language Film. The largest museum is the Jordan Museum. It contains much of the valuable archaeological findings in the country, including some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Neolithic limestone statues of Pharaoh Ghazal, and a copy of the Mesha Stele. Most museums are located in Amman, including the Children's Museum Jordan, the Martyrs Memorial and Museum and Royal Automobile Museum. Museums outside Amman include Aqaba Archaeological Museum. The Jordan National Gallery of Fine Arts is a major contemporary art museum located in Amman. The Jerash Festival is an annual music event that features popular Arab singers. Jordan unveiled its first underwater military museum off the coast of Aqaba. Several military vehicles, including tanks, troop carriers, and a helicopter are in the museum. The oldest known evidence of hominid habitation in Jordan dates back at least 200,000 years. Jordan is a rich source of Paleolithic human remains up to 20,000 years old, due to its location within the Levant where various migrations out of Africa converged, and its more humid climate during the late Pleistocene, which resulted in the formation of numerous remains preserving wetlands in the region. Past lakeshore environments attracted different groups of hominids, and several remains of tools dating from the late Pleistocene have been found. Scientists found the world's oldest known evidence of bread making at a 14,500-year-old Natufian site in Jordan's northeastern desert. During Neolithic period between 10,000 to 4,500 BC, there was a transition from a hunter-gatherer culture to a culture with established populous agricultural villages. Ain Ghazal, One such village located at a site in the eastern part of present-day Amman is one of the largest known prehistoric settlements in the Near East. Dozens of plaster statues of the human form, dating to 7250 BC or earlier, have been uncovered. They are one of the oldest large-scale representations of humans ever found. During Chalcolithic period between 4500 to 3600 BC, several villages emerged in Transjordan, including Tulalip Gassel in the Jordan Valley, with a series of circular stone enclosures in the eastern basalt desert from the same period have long baffled archaeologists. Fortified towns and urban centers first emerged in the southern Levant early in the Bronze Age between 3600 to 1200 BC. Wadi Fainan became regional center for copper extraction. The metal exploited on a large scale to produce bronze. Trade and movement of people in the Middle East peaked, spreading cultural innovations and whole civilizations to spread. Villages in Transjordan expanded rapidly in areas with reliable water resources and arable land. Ancient Egyptian populations expanded towards the Levant and came to control both banks of the Jordan River. During the Iron Age between 1200 to 332 BC, after the withdrawal of the Egyptians, Transjordan was home to the kingdoms of Amman, Edom and Moab. These peoples spoke Semitic languages of the Canaanite group. Archaeologists concluded that their polities were tribal kingdoms rather than states. Amman was located in the Amman Plateau, Moab in the highlands east of the Dead Sea, and Edom in the area around Wadi Araba in the south. The northwestern region of the Transjordan, known then as Gilead, was settled by the Israelites. The three kingdoms continually clashed with the neighboring Hebrew kingdoms of Israel and Judah, centered west of the Jordan River. One record of this is the Mesha Stele, erected by the Moabite king Mesha in 840 BC. In an inscription on it, he lauds himself for the building projects that he initiated in Moab and commemorates his glory and his victory against the Israelites. The stele constitutes one of the most important archaeological parallels to accounts recorded in the Bible. At the same time, Israel and the kingdom of Aram Damascus competed for control of the Gilead. Around 740 and 720 BC, Israel and Aram Damascus were conquered by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. The kingdoms of Amman, Edom and Moab were subjugated but were allowed to maintain some degree of independence. In 627 BC, after the disintegration of Assyrian's empire, Babylonians took control of the area. Although the kingdom supported the Babylonians against Judah in the 597 BC sack of Jerusalem, they rebelled against Babylon a decade later. The kingdoms were reduced to vassals, a status they retained under the Persian and Hellenic empires. By the beginning of Roman rule around 63 BC, the kingdoms of Amman, Edom and Moab had lost their distinct identities and were assimilated into the Roman culture. Some Edomites survived longer were driven by the Nabateans. They migrated to southern Judea, which became known as Idumea, and converted to Judaism by the Hasmoneans. Alexander the Great's conquest of Persian Empire in 332 BC introduced Hellenistic culture to Middle East. After Alexander's death in 323 BC, the empire split among his generals, and in the end much of Transjordan was disputed between the Ptolemies based in Egypt and the Seleucids based in Syria. The Nabateans, nomadic Arabs based south of Edom, managed to establish an independent kingdom in 169 BC by exploiting the struggle between the two Greek powers. The Nabatean kingdom controlled much of the trade routes of the region, and it stretched south along the Red Sea coast into the Hejaz Desert, up to as far north as Damascus, which it controlled for a short period between 85 to 71 BC. The Nabateans amassed a fortune from their control of the trade routes, often drawing the envy of their neighbors. Petra, Nabatea's capital, flourished in the 1st century AD, driven by its extensive water irrigation systems and agriculture. Nabateans were talented stone carvers, building their most elaborate structure, Ulkasne, in 1st century AD. It is believed to be the mausoleum of the Arab Nabatean king Aretas IV. Roman legions under Pompey conquered much of Levant in 63 BC, inaugurating a period of Roman rule that lasted for centuries. In 106 AD, Emperor Trajan annexed Nabatea unopposed and rebuilt the King's Highway, which became known as the Via Traiana Nova Road. Romans gave the Greek cities of Transjordan, Philadelphia, Amman, Gerasa, Jerash, Gadara, Keys, Pella, Tabakat Phal, and Arbela, Irbid, and other Hellenistic cities in Palestine and southern Syria a level of autonomy by forming the Decapolis, a 10-city league. Jerash is one of the best preserved Roman cities in the east and was visited by Emperor Hadrian during his journey to Palestine. In 324 AD, the Roman Empire split and the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as Byzantine Empire, continued to control or influence the region until 636. Christianity became legal within the empire in 313 after co-emperors Constantine and Licinius signed an Edict of Toleration. In 380, the Edict of Thessalonica made Christianity the official state religion. Transjordan prospered during the Byzantine era and Christian churches were built throughout the region. Aqaba Church in Ayla was built during this era and considered the world's first purpose-built Christian church. Rosas in southern Amman contains at least 16 Byzantine churches. Meanwhile, Petra's importance declined as sea trade routes emerged, and after a 363 earthquake destroyed many structures, it declined further and eventually abandoned. The Sasanian Empire in the east became the Byzantines' rivals, and frequent confrontations led to the Sassanids controlling some parts of the region including Transjordan. In 629, during the Battle of Mu'tar in what is today Karak Governorate, the Byzantines and their Arab Christian clients, the Ghassanids, staved off an attack by a Muslim Rashidun force that marched northwards towards the Levant from the Hijaz. The Byzantines, however, were defeated by the Muslims in 636 at the decisive Battle of the Yarmouk just north of Transjordan. Transjordan was an essential territory for the conquest of Damascus. The Rashidun Caliphate was followed by that of the Umayyads between 661 to 750. Under the Umayyad Caliphate, several desert castles were constructed in Transjordan, including Qaza al-Mshata and Qaza al-Halabat. The Abbasid Caliphate's campaign to take over the Umayyads began in a village in Transjordan known as Humayma. The powerful 749 earthquake is thought to have contributed to the Umayyads' defeat by the Abbasids, who moved the Caliphate's capital from Damascus to Baghdad. During Abbasid rule between 750 to 969, several Arab tribes moved northwards and settled in the Levant. As had happened during the Roman era, growth of maritime trade diminished Transjordan's central position and the area became increasingly impoverished. After the decline of the Abbasids, Transjordan was ruled by the Fatimid Caliphate, followed by Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem between 1115 to 1187. The Crusaders constructed several castles as part of the lordship of Al-Transjordan, including Montreal and Al-Karak. During the Battle of Hattin near Lake Tiberias just north of Transjordan, the Crusaders lost to Saladin, the founder of Ayyubid dynasty. The Ayyubids built Ajlaun Castle and rebuilt older castles to be used as military outposts against the Crusaders. Villages in Transjordan under the Ayyubids became important stops for Muslim pilgrims going to Mecca who traveled along the route that connected Syria to the Hijaz. Several of the Ayyubid castles were used and expanded by the Mamluks, who divided Transjordan between the provinces of Karak and Damascus. During the next century, Transjordan experienced Mongol attacks, but the Mongols were ultimately repelled by the Mamluks at the Battle of Ain Jalut. In 1516, the Ottoman Caliphate's forces conquered Mamluk territory. Agricultural villages in Transjordan witnessed a period of relative prosperity in the 16th century, but were later abandoned. Transjordan was of marginal importance to the Ottoman authorities. As a result, Ottoman presence was virtually absent and reduced to annual tax collection visits. More Arab Bedouin tribes moved into Transjordan from Syria and the Hijaz during the first 3 centuries of Ottoman rule, including the Abwan, the Bani Saka, and the Hawitat. These tribes laid claims to different parts of the region, and with the absence of a meaningful Ottoman authority, Transjordan slid into a state of anarchy that continued until the 19th century. This led to a short-lived occupation by the Wahhabi forces, an ultra-Orthodox Islamic movement that emerged in Najd, in modern-day Saudi Arabia. Ibrahim Pasha, son of the governor of the Egypt Enulat, rooted out the Wahhabis under the request of the Ottoman Sultan by 1818. The construction of Hijaz Railway in 1908, stretching across the length of Transjordan and linking Damascus with Medina, helped the population economically, as Transjordan became a stopover for pilgrims. increasing policies of Turkification and centralization adopted by Ottoman Empire in the wake of 1908 Young Turk Revolution disenchanted the Arabs of Levant, which contributed to the development of an Arab nationalist movement. These changes led to the outbreak of the 1916 Arab Revolt during World War I, which ended for centuries of stagnation under Ottoman rule. The revolt led by Sharif Hussein of Mecca, scion of the Hashemite family of Hijaz and his sons. Locally, the revolt garnered the support of Transjordanian tribes including Bedouins, Circassians, and Christians. The allies of World War I, including Britain and France, whose imperial interests converged with the Arabist cause, offered support. The revolt started on the 5th of June, 1916 from Medina and pushed northwards until the fighting reached Transjordan in the Battle of Aqaba on the 6th of July, 1917. The revolt reached its climax when Faisal entered Damascus in October 1918 and established an Arab-led military administration in Oeta East, later declared as the Arab Kingdom of Syria. During this period, the southernmost region of the country, including Ma'an and Aqaba, was also claimed by the neighboring Kingdom of Hijaz. The Treaty of London, signed by British government and Emir of Transjordan on the 22nd of March, 1946, recognized the independence of the state. On the 25th of May, 1946, the day that the treaty was ratified by the Transjordan Parliament, Transjordan was raised to the status of a kingdom under the name of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in Arabic, with Abdullah as its first king. The 25th of May is celebrated as the nation's Independence Day. Jordan became a member of the United Nations on the 14th of December, 1955. On the 15th of May, 1948, as part of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Jordan intervened in Palestine together with many other Arab states. Following the war, Jordan controlled the West Bank, and on the 24th of April, 1950, Jordan formally annexed these territories after the Jericho Conference. In response, some Arab countries demanded Jordan's expulsion from the Arab League. On the 12th of June, 1950, the Arab League declared that the annexation was a temporary, practical measure and that Jordan was holding the territory as a trustee pending a future settlement. King Abdullah was assassinated at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in 1951 by a Palestinian militant, amid rumors he intended to sign peace treaty with Israel. Abdullah was succeeded by his son Talal, who established the country's modern constitution in 1952. Illness caused Talal to abdicate to his eldest son Hussein, who ascended to the throne in 1953 at age 17. Jordan witnessed great political uncertainty in the following period. The 1950s was a period of political upheaval as Nasserism and Pan-Arabism swept the Arab world. On the 1st of March, 1956, King Hussein Arabiized the command of the army by dismissing a number of senior British officers, an act made to remove remaining foreign influence in the country. In 1958, Jordan and neighboring Hashemite Iraq formed the Arab Federation as a response to the formation of the rival United Arab Republic between Nasser's Egypt and Syria. The union lasted only 6 months, being dissolved after Iraqi King Faisal II, Hussein's cousin, was deposed by a bloody military coup on the 14th of July, 1958. Jordan signed a military pact with Egypt just before Israel launched a preemptive strike on Egypt to begin the Six-Day War in June 1967, where Jordan and Syria joined the war. The Arab states were defeated and Jordan lost control of the West Bank to Israel. The war of attrition with Israel followed, which included the 1968 Battle of Karama, where the combined forces of the Jordanian Armed Forces and the Palestine Liberation Organization repelled an Israeli attack on the Karama camp on the Jordanian border with the West Bank. Despite the fact that the Palestinians had limited involvement against the Israeli forces, the events at Karama gained wide recognition and acclaim in the Arab world. As a result, there was an upsurge of support for Palestinian paramilitary elements, the Fedayeen, within Jordan from other Arab countries. The Fedayeen activities soon became a threat to Jordan's rule of law. In September 1970, the Jordanian army targeted the Fedayeen, and the resultant fighting led to the expulsion of Palestinian fighters from various PLO groups into Lebanon, in a conflict that became known as Black September. In 1973, Egypt and Syria waged the Yom Kippur War on Israel, and fighting occurred along the 1967 Jordan River ceasefire line. Jordan sent a brigade to Syria to attack Israeli units on Syrian territory, but did not engage Israeli forces from Jordanian territory. At the Rabat Summit Conference in 1974, in the aftermath of the Yom Kippur War, Jordan and the rest of the Arab League agreed that the PLO was the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. Subsequently, Jordan renounced its claims to the West Bank in 1988. At the 1991 Madrid Conference, Jordan agreed to negotiate a peace treaty sponsored by the US and the Soviet Union. The Israel-Jordan peace treaty was signed on the 26th of October, 1994. On the 7th of February, 1999, Abdullah II ascended the throne upon the death of his father Hussein, who had ruled for nearly 50 years. Abdullah embarked on economic liberalization when he assumed the throne, and his reforms led to an economic boom which continued until 2008. Abdullah II has been credited with increasing foreign investment, improving public-private partnerships, and providing the foundation for Aqaba's free trade zone and Jordan's flourishing information and communication technology sector. He also set up 5 other special economic zones. However, during the following years, Jordan's economy experienced hardship as it dealt with the effects of the Great Recession and spillover from the Arab Spring. Al-Qaeda under Abu Musab al-Zarqawi's leadership launched coordinated explosions in 3 hotel lobbies in Amman on the 9th of November, 2005, resulting in 60 deaths and 115 injured. The bombings, which targeted civilians, caused widespread outrage among Jordanians. The attack is considered to be a rare event in the country, and Jordan's internal security was dramatically improved. No major terrorist attacks have occurred since then. The Arab Spring were large-scale protests that erupted in the Arab world in 2011, demanding economic and political reforms. Many of these protests tore down regimes in some Arab nations, leading to instability that ended with violent civil wars. In response to domestic unrest, Abdullah replaced his prime minister and introduced reforms including reforming the constitution and laws governing public freedoms and elections. Proportional representation was reintroduced to the Jordanian parliament in the 2016 general election, a move which he said would eventually lead to establishing parliamentary governments. Jordan was left largely unscathed from the violence that swept the region, despite an influx of 1.4 million Syrian refugees into the natural resources-lacking country and the emergence of the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The climate varies greatly. Generally, the further inland from the Mediterranean, there are greater contrasts in temperature and less rainfall. The average elevation is 812 meters above sea level. The highlands above the Jordan Valley, mountains of the Dead Sea and Wadi Araba, and as far south as Ras Al Nakab are dominated by a Mediterranean climate, while the eastern and northeastern areas of the country are arid desert. Although the deserts reach high temperatures, the heat is usually moderated by low humidity and a daytime breeze, while the nights are cool. Summers, lasting from May to September, are hot and dry with temperatures averaging around 32 degrees Celsius and sometimes exceeding 40 degrees Celsius between July and August. The winter, lasting from November to March, is relatively cool with temperatures averaging around 11 degrees Celsius. Winter also sees frequent showers and occasional snowfall in some western elevated areas.